could have been deadly. You know, Device was just on the verge of it. You know, he was in a good spot. But if he just made it back a second further, he could have maybe played that cross. But still, you know, it seems that G2 have got this beautiful play coming down, and we haven't seen anything else out of the book of tricks. And we all know Existence will certainly have a couple of tricks up his sleeve, but that is a really nice bit of play. So I'm hoping we get to see more of that sort of element from G2 here as they look like they're trying something different this time.
What is it going to be? This time they're spread out so far in what's sort of a default here to just try and make sure that no one is going to push them anywhere and that they're not going to be tricked. Looks like they're going to try and Molotov out the vents early on, and Astralis haven't been trying to get people up there, so you can't really blame them for wanting to be a bit safe on that front. Device in a good position with that AWP in the middle, and Smith has his on the other side too. Grenades raining in. Still more than a minute left, and can they actually make it out here? Smoke is definitely not complete, but oh, it's a nice shot from Device to take down the top fragger.
There we go. So already a lot of kills going for Astralis this time. Smiths and Existence are the last two alive standing. So you're going to see the swing out, and to be fair, Astralis this time just said, no, I think it's almost like a team ace here. Who's the last one? Free needs to get the kill. Let Free get the kill just for my sake. Alright, Smith's punishes Carrigan at least, but 1 HP. This could be it. It could be the perfect team ace.
Yes.
And it is. I love that.
Get your
I
wish.
love that. I love it.
And they had the option for a double up setup, but they decided not to go for it. And I don't blame them, because it's so hard to retake on this map. It's sort of possible on the A1 side, but imagine retaking B with 2 AWPs. It's no fun.
No. Not fun at all. But let's kind of review the scoreline here. You know, it's 13-8. We've got G2 starting to, you know, maybe not look comfortable, but they've got a really strong B default, not default, but a B play to fall back to. Their default looks a little bit weak, but I'm wondering if they're going to start depending on that in these rounds as it does get a little bit later into the day. But they can always fake that out and try and really cause an overcommitment towards B from Astralis. I'm hoping we see a little bit of mind games going through on that one, but RPK and Scream looking like they want to go and maybe try that again. The volley comes in, so it's looking very similar to the play from the tree, but it's not quite the same piece. It's close, but not quite the same. Now, Dupree's in a different spot this time. It's only Cajun B at the forefront, and Device, but Scream finds both of them right in the smokes, just on the verges of it, and they play it so well again. Device now smoked out. That site is theirs, and I've not seen a team look this proficient in taking that B site in a long time.
No, and there's some really weird stuff that's happening here as well. I think Dupree actually wanted to run all the way through the smoke. I don't think he was intending to just sort of stand around, because that would have been an asinine play. So instead, he got trapped sort of on the corner, and it works out quite heavily against him. So they're getting some really good cleanup in here, but this is obviously a bit worrying. They just can't obviously defend B. They don't know what the setup is, and the problem is you can't put 3 people here. This is not an option. Like, putting 3 people in B would be some real madness. So I don't know what they need to do. You can go aggressive, but then you'd be pushing right into like 3 or 4 G2 members.
And that's the thing, right? So they tried to was there the first time, and he kept the AWP in play a couple of times after that, and that didn't really work for them. So they've tried the AWP there. You know, obviously he gets kind of put out, but I'd almost like to see someone play the CT
right
kind
into
of
like 3 or 4 G2
I
members.
thought it was a failed smoke. Right? It is. So they tried there the first time, headshot almost. He kept the AWP in play a couple of times after that, and that didn't really work for them. So they've tried the AWP there. Play in mind as to how, you know, obviously he gets kind of put out, but there is a small piece missing. But maybe Astralis looking like they might have to play someone back in CT, maybe not as be present in towards those into checkers. But I like this from G2, and the thing is, we haven't even seen like a straight A play. We haven't even seen, you know, a full, you know, buy up round with guns, with smokes, with everything in play towards A. It's been all, you know, kind of a couple of hits towards, you know, mid, maybe some defaults, just working off the picks. But these B hits have been absolutely flawless.
Yeah, and because of how much they use grenades to clear out checkered, or the parts of it they don't clear out, they simply smoke out. It's really hard for Astralis to set up like a proper defense right now. And they, even when they put up counter grenades, they will still play almost 2 versus 5 or 2 versus 4 in there. It's hard to get good enough counter grenades in that you could kill 4 people like that. Yep. So they are just running into some really hard pressure right now, and they're running out of rounds. I mean, right now G2 are 2 rounds away from winning here against Astralis. And again, think about the first half that they had: 7 rounds on the T side. That looks like you're about to be just in a great position.
You're good, yeah. I don't know, kind of not the norm. on this. 14-8 though. Astralis going to go back into this one, and we will be seeing the B test coming out again from G2. That's what I'm curious about. Is that going to be another play coming out? And how they're just switching up here. Dupree's take a different angle. He's going to be sitting up above. The same smoke comes in. He's going to commit down to this and spray into it. But already, G2 just hit the brakes, slow it down.
There's only one person in the middle. I thought for a moment they were going to try and sort of double stack middle and only leave one person in A. Simply play A almost as a retake. It's not impossible, it would mean that they would be much faster on the rotate to B right now. Looks like the bomb's still over by the B bomber side, so they're just faking a bit of aggression, making some noise. And, yeah, the same exact execute. Smoke going up. Dupree. This time he's playing on a better side of it, and he doesn't have to run through. He gets a double kill in. It's a favourable trade finally for them.
Really impressive as well, mid-game to be able to adapt towards that sort of thing, read the smokes, understand the plays coming through. But now look at it. They've got 2 players over towards B. Now Xyp9x has to be the linchpin here. He has to stop them, be able to push out, but Scream spots out the gun, and suddenly the map becomes open. There's still 50 seconds available, and G2 have a chance here, but it's a 2v2. Device has to understand what's going on here. It's the race towards A. I think one player's going to get out on A if they went straight for it. They've gone towards Forklift, and it is Shox. Scream's taking the long route round with a bomb.
And that means he can walk right in and put it down. Yeah, I was going to say, don't at least put it on the corner. He's going to plant default. Try and make sure he doesn't get picked off. And Shox just crouching, hoping that someone's going to give him a big opening. Cajun coming up highway. They do have a kit on Cajun, so it's a bit critical if he ever goes down exactly where that is. Device trying to look for the opening. Shox there, revealing himself, and he gets dropped. But then comes Scream with 2 kills. Another quad kill here. Making it to match point here for G2. That's 31 kills in a lot less rounds. It's incredible.
Yeah, statistically overall for G2 on this map, Scream is one of the best players. Recently we've seen upturns from a couple of Shox coming in. Smith's having a couple of good games, but it's been Scream. This guy, a very flat map. The headshots seem to be a little easier to hit in case he needed help at any point. I don't think he does, but those B hits he's been hitting doubles every time, opening it up, clearing it out. Now Astralis just down to these CZs, and Scream looks confident. He wants to go walkabouts. Look at him. He's just straight out there in mid, peeking directly, knowing these guys are going to be struggling. Carrigan gets flashed and held. That is one of the only gun they really had out of the game.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we've seen it time and again. Even if Astralis had got 10 rounds on the first half here, they got 7, but if they got another 3, this still would not make this an impressive. We'd be looking at like an 11, 13, 12 type scoreline, still favoring G2. So I don't know what it takes for Astralis to win the CT side of Cash, but it's been so many games where something like this has happened, where they seem to have a good T side, and the CT side just does not work.
And it's going to possibly come down to another of these B hits. Dupree's going to be hating this after having such a tough time and such a rough road dealing with Existence and the boys pouring in. But he's going to find RPK at least. And I say Existence, and he's the one finding the double to just really open the side back up to it. And there's just Xyp9x left alive. Has the rifle, but what can he do with 40 seconds? 3 to find. Bomb going down.
Still no death threes.
Maybe it's the clutch, or maybe it's just been fixed. I don't know.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's definitely not going to be the clutch.
Oh, come on, I believe in it.
the Molotov as well. They're making absolutely sure this is not going to happen. At least he's not doing a Cajun and walking into the fire, but yeah, he's going to go down to Smith, and that will be a really great performance from G2. Well played. They did get crushed on Inferno, but they come back with an even bigger win themselves on Cash. Very well done.
I could watch their B take on that T side every day of the week. That was absolutely wonderfully done, and it's something about it that just really highlights how good they are. And it kind of reminds you a little bit of the Envy play that Sean Garris was talking about on occasion, where they molly out all these very different corners, but you see a slightly different approach to it coming out from G2 there, smoking out everything, just challenging down the angles that they leave open. Dupree did eventually find a little bit of room there, just on the edge of the smoke, but by that point, they'd already been overrun 3 or 4 times by this. Yeah,
and you see how much they had to improvise to even make that work. And I mean, it's that was just not a fun time. I look forward to seeing the analysis of this because I don't know if this has been a problem for them for a very long time. Not just today, but like for going back for the past 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah, it's been a consistent issue. So guys, I think we're pretty much done here, and let's hear what the analysis have to say.
Thank you very much, guys. And I do want to exactly take on where Anders just alluded to. It was an 8-7 first half. He said it right then. So I'm really worried about Astralis' CT side. And the B strategies from G2 were just amazing.
It was like the yin and the yang, Lee. Balance in the universe. Because G2, they go B. They like the voluptuous letters. They're Danes. They like the big, buxom B, basically. And then the Frenchies, for some reason, wanted to go towards the pointy letter. They really favored that A. There's some hard-hitting analysis for you guys. But
brilliant stuff.
There you go.
Okay, so let's talk about the guy that was at the top of the board. I know we don't always like to focus on top fraggers all the time, but 32 kills for Scream, he was kind of unplayable.
I've underlined his name 4 times on my notes. So there you go.
I mean, definitely he had an.
You love him, I know.
Yeah, he had an amazing game. He got a lot of high impact kills on the city side as well, where they were struggling at times in those retakes. He was able to be the guy who get the initial kills, which allow them to claw back into rounds. So, but looking at the second half, which was probably the one more important thing, as how they were repeating the same strat over and over again. I mean, doing a strat like this with a lot of smokes and molotovs and flashes onto B is pretty powerful, because once you clear, a couple of parts of the site with a Molotov, the remaining places where the cities can be, and you see where Dupree stood when he got the double kill in the last time they did it. But you're pretty open there. You're easily flashed, and it doesn't matter at that point, because if he dies, his teammate is on the rotate because they were faking A. He's in a bad spot. They are just waiting for him, and Scream was on fire, as we pointed out, getting all the entry kills.
And think back to what you were saying about them on Inferno. It was the smokes and flashes that were not right. So is this just a case of they are so much more comfortable on cash? The executes?
To me, it just seemed like the executes. It's more like the execute.
Yeah,
let's be real.
It was
if they weren't playing default for picks and winning and just getting those picks, they were just oh guys, we found this one strat. It actually works.
Let's do it again.
The worst thing is they would actually
just keep doing it.
They would actually miss the smoke for CT.
Yeah, they would too.
So
it wasn't even a perfect execute. It was just a lot of elements, but it's just like that one smoke. I think Pansy mentioned it at one point. Device camping there with an 8, your whole thing is wrecked because he's just going to sit there and be like,
and then he missed his shot.
And it's
And
but I mean. Right.
The problem is people are, but how do you beat a strat like that? The thing is, you would never just put blindly 3 players B. You just can't do that. It's not really viable. So you can do a couple of things. You can try and go aggressive early with an Opper maybe going first to try and get the pick, and a couple of players behind him supporting him. So try and break that strat in the beginning, or if it's a default, then you can just get the kill on the one guy that's watching B. So try and do that. The other option would be, since they're spending a lot of resources getting entry into the site, that you could maybe, fall back and let them get control of the site and then play for the retake. But a B bomb site, it's really hard. It's really hard to retake it. So, I mean, that's why I said this strat in itself is pretty powerful. You are committed to it. So the problem is, if it doesn't work, if cities get the initial pick, it has to be perfect. Everyone has to throw everything basically for it to unleash its full potential. So you get an early pick, maybe you disrupt them, and you're able to break it down.
The last thing I want to talk about was Dupree, because yes, he had an absolute screamer today. No pun intended there, by the way. And he was actually on T side. He was a lot of the time the guy going up mid and through cat. And then as soon as he was losing out, the tactic was just falling apart. They weren't getting into A site.
Like one thing to note is that. It is a little bit map dependent with Dupree. Like Overpass, it's a bad example to use Overpass with him, because it's like there's a few examples of players like that. Smith's on D2 back in the day was always our go-to, right? Where it's just like he just feels comfortable on that map. Nitro on Cash, right? Same sort of thing, where it's just like, okay, well, this guy, he's just so good on this map. Whatever it is, he just feels it, right? On Cash, clearly it wasn't really working out. I mean, hell, on that B execute, we might have seen them, like Astralis, figure out a solution for it earlier if Dupree hadn't got caught on the wall in that smoke, that the before last B execute. He flashed it perfect, and I'm like, oh, this is it, right? He's gonna come through that smoke and just wreck them all, right? And then he gets caught on the wall. It's just like, So
we saw Moddy do the same thing yesterday.
No luck. Sometimes it's just also a little lack of luck. Yeah, exactly. Just small things. If he's a second earlier behind his flash, maybe we see a totally different half, because then they shut down that B execute one round early. They have a little bit more room to play with, and we're not just seeing G2 crush them by rerunning the same strat over and over and over. Yep. So, well, I mean, that's just something we really do get a good example of like why Dupree is like one of the linchpins of this team.
Yeah.
Like you really need Dupree.
Yeah, and when he's not firing,
yeah,
boom, they fall apart. So, I mean, it's another 1-1 for Astralis. We'll see how they do when they play next time. It is going to be Virtus Pro versus FaZe coming up after the break.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning, solid as a rock, cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League. So we're on to the second match of the day, or technically the third if you want to get it down to it. But it's Virtus Pro up against FaZe Clan. Yep. Or FaZe, I'm not sure what we call them these days. FaZe Clan was the original name, but they've changed a couple of times. Things. But formerly Gamers 2, if that's not confusing, Gamers 2 just played, who are formerly Titan.
It's
a little merry-go-round that
really
happens
confusing.
every now and again. It's going to be on Train and Barrage. Now, statistically, these are good maps for Virtus Pro, but Virtus Pro kind of wet the bed a little bit at Leipzig and really haven't played a great deal over the last 3 months.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they wet the bed first and foremost with their veto system because they somehow decided to leave Dust 2 against Mouse Sports, which is probably the worst map for VP and the best map for Mouse.
But they've been saying for months that they've been working on their Dust 2, man.
Doesn't matter.
I mean,
it literally doesn't
I don't
matter.
even trust them at this point because
These
it doesn't
lies.
seem. Yeah, so finally they get the 2 good maps for them. I mean, they are definitely the better team here in this particular matchup, but we should see if the addition of Robban for FaZe actually, improve their game.
That's the big announcement today. We've heard that he's been there a while, but he's announced officially now. Yeah. What do we feel he's going to bring to the table? I mean, this is it's an old 1.6 guy, but what's going to happen?
I mean, it's kind of tricky because Robban he was an in-game leader 1.6 towards the second part of his career, but he had in SK most famously he had players like Getright, Forest, Delpan, FaZe, so they were playing a bit of a loose playstyle. He would allow those players to do what they feel like doing, something similar to what Fnatic does now. So he's not really some sort of a master tactician. Like A was for MTW. So I definitely a really experienced player, definitely a lot he can bring to the team, but we have to wait and see how much they do improve tactically.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing that we kind of discussed when it was like Legia and a couple of the others were like in-game leading for these boys, and it's like, how much would they listen to this guy? Like, will you respect them anyway? And Robin's a big name. There's no disputing that. He's got a big name to carry it. But if he does kind of encourage that looser playstyle, it actually may work a little better with the FaZe guys as well, because they're not like the most super regimented team in that. They've got so many superstars that can just kind of go off that you kind of don't want to just like hammer them down to this one playstyle. Like, if they're feeling comfortable or confident in the way they're playing or doing something, you might as well leave them to kind of do it and then just kind of tame them in, I can imagine. So I have to see how it works out. I don't think we'll see like a massive difference just yet, but I think it's just more for me, this whole matchup is how much is still in the tank for Virtus Pro at the moment. Train was a great map for them. You suddenly saw Neo, who had been pretty quiet for a while, really finding massive form on that. That was the one map where he normally played like on CT, just supporting on the B site with Taz over there. He just kind of roamed around, and he was incredibly good at it. And it was like, suddenly you're like, okay, Neo's found something here. But it's like, has that now dissipated because it's been so long since we've seen them actually really competing on that map?
I mean, they were one of the better teams out there when Train came out. They were delighted that Train was back in the rotation. I mean, the other map is Mirage as well, which is also,
a good map.
old school map for them. But how do they do with the young upstarts that are FaZe these days? They're pretty cocksure of themselves. You certainly could say that about Makalele. But what do we think?
Well, the problem is, I mean, you can never underestimate a team like FaZe because of the individual potential, their individual skill their players have. The problem is that, most of the times that by itself is not enough. You need to have some sort of a structure, something you can fall back on if things don't go your way, and that is what FaZe has been lacking so far. So we don't know. The last time we saw them was at Leipzig. It's been 2 weeks since then. Robban has been coaching them for a couple of weeks now, even before that. So maybe they had enough time to implement a couple of new things. And as I said, I still think that VP is the stronger team. It should be.
I also want to just briefly hit on how much pressure is on these guys. 700k is a big figure. That's a big number to suddenly go on them. The professionalism has to be like up a notch right now.
To be fair, like I know the FaZe, like some of the FaZe management and how they approach it. They are kind of like not they don't put a lot of pressure, but I know they have a mentality of if you're not winning the event, you don't get to act like winners. There's very much that mentality there with them, to my understanding. So I think it's not a bad thing to have people not actually put pressure on them, but to keep the the mindset in the right place. That you guys are here to win, right? This is how you play now. You've got to turn up, be that professional that we're paying you to be like. It's good, but then again, some of these young players might feel that pressure. You've got some kind of older hats in here as well. I guess you've got Fox coming in, and obviously Taz on the other side as well. So I think you got a nice mixture, but I think there is a level of pressure now to be added to this phase lineup.
Yeah, and it was, from what I've heard, or if we were to believe PR, Fox really wanted Robin in there, so maybe they will take some good notes from him. You guys at home, don't forget to check out the Score Esports app as well for all your score stats and information. That is on the iOS and Google Play. You can find it over there. So, that said, let's get the games underway. Let's get over to the casters. It's Anders and Semler.
Thank you very much, guys. And yes, it will be kind of an interesting game. Both these teams, I think, have something to prove. I don't know. I can understand that they wanted to take a break on the VP side, but if they had like a month and a half or something like that where they weren't doing anything, so how about we just make it like half and half? Like half break and then half work, not all break.
No, but all break is good, and
no.
It's just like get back to work.
Here's the
before
problem.
the tournament. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe play a little bit before you go into the tournament.
Here's the problem, right? If you spend the month and a half just having a break and just chilling and not worrying about the game, then you also forfeit the right to later on use the excuse to say, well, we play so much, we don't have any time to practice. Like, well, you had the time and you didn't use it, so now what?
Yeah.
It's
screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
No, just don't spend like for what is like 5 or 6 weeks not doing anything.
They had quite a long break. You're right. Yeah, they had quite a long break. There's no getting around that. As you guys can see, map record FaZe definitely struggling on this map, and Robin, yeah. If he's going to be around, I don't think that he's had enough time to really have an impact with this team, or to be able to go over all of the. There we go. To go over all of the maps,
No,
you're going to be focusing on Inferno. You're going to be focusing. On the more common, like old school maps, not the new train, right?
I don't know what Robin's personality is like at all.
Oh, this is not.
This is not live.
No, this is not. Live.
Or at least they
Well,
won't reprint it. But
this is where I'm a little skeptical, right? What's Robin done apart from play like, Face It, I guess.
Well, so I don't mind that they're bringing in someone to be like a hype person. Like, you could definitely have someone who has like a lot of authority in a team without being like a tactical genius, but just someone who is like assertive, and someone who will tell them, if they're in a slump or something, who'll be like, your guys are getting out of this now. It's time to put in the work.